It is with great honor. We're very privileged to have Dr. Hugo Chan. He is the national president of FGB Hong Kong, and his title is Using Our Whole Households as Mission Centers. Just share. Dr. Chan is national president of Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship International in Hong Kong, founding elder of Praise Assembly Church in Hong Kong, and a member of the board of trustees of the Oral Roberts University in US. Dr. Chan is married to Yuan Yi, and they have 3 daughters, Rebecca, Anna, and Esther. Okay, Dr. Hugo Chan, in his 40 years of legal practice in Hong Kong and China, has built strong trusting relationships. He is a partner of the law firm of Liao, Ho, and Chan. He is the appointed attesting officer by the Ministry of Justice of China, and also served as the appointed member of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference of Shenzhen, China, and a member of the election committee of the Chief Executive of Hong Kong. So a man who has done very well in the corporate area, in his area of mastery, someone who is a role model, doing great things for the Lord, and we really look forward to hearing what Dr. Chan has for us this afternoon. So I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Chan.
Oh, well, thank you for all those wonderful words. I felt very humbled, but on the other hand, very happy to be here with all my brothers in Malaysia. And we really are family. So whether it's FGB or church family, I want to send greetings to you on behalf of the FGB in Hong Kong and the church family of Hong Kong and my own family. Now, talking about the topic that we will be sharing is a very humbling experience. I must say this is the most challenging area. How do you pass your legacy to your next generation unless you actually manage your household properly? It's really, as far as I'm concerned, it's a history and a journey of brokenness, but exceeding joy. People ask, do you have a fulfilling marriage? I'm not quite sure how to ask because there are so many unmet expectations. But are you happy? Yes. Very blessed? Yes. Because happiness, and especially the joy of the Lord, depends on how you go before the Lord. Even as late as recent as yesterday, I spent no less than 4 hours having to ask my wife for forgiveness and listen to her, because there are things that I have somehow not managed to do in the last 40 years. And I thought I was doing it, and yet still I need to work on it. But it all ends well, and it ends good. So thank the Lord, and thank you, brothers, especially in Malaysia, in organizing this. And also some of the brothers and sisters from different parts of the world. Well, today I want to share with you what it means to be using our households as mission centers. In other words, how do you train your household and how do you send forth your household? It's a topic that we have been, as a group, every Wednesday night been discussing. For your information, for the last 4 years, I have been able and very blessed to be able to walk with a group of leaders who are now bringing us back to the way that Christ and his early apostles, the way they established people as disciples, the way they did church in the first 300 years. I must say is very, very different from the paradigm and the way we do things today. We have deviated and departed from the first 300 years model. But thank the Lord that there are people who are helping us to go back to it. So while we were on the Wednesday night discussing with this group, we actually now originally had one group, but we now would share in 4 different subgroups. So the process of multiplication is going on. we need a very serious and ordered study of these things, and yet it must be simple, repeatable, and transferable. Unless we can do it even within our own family, we cannot really influence the world. So I can happily report to you that today I share a little bit about the journey that I have taken, not just having family, but how I can see that family, in fact, is the key and the most crucial factor in accomplishing the Great Commission. Because we used to think, oh, Great Commission, oh, you join a mission agency, if you're young and mobile, you are, like my 3 daughters, they went on the so-called mission field. But today, I think differently. I think the mission field is at home. Unless we are able to train and send people at home, what do we have when we go to another city or another place as an example to them? Because everyone now with COVID-19 is now enjoying or tolerating, depending on how you see it, family life. And I believe God wants us to really rethink and having a reset of all our priorities, whether you are a household leader, fellowship leader, or a church leader. Full Gospel, of course, FGB is given a global mandate of the Great Commission. But the Great Commission is 3 mandates. You go and make disciples of nations. Of course, you go from nation to nation, from city to city. But the second mandate is baptizing people in the name of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. That's a family in heaven. And church is his family on earth. How do we do this? The third mandate is, Jesus said, teach them everything that I've commanded you. Teach them to obey everything I commanded you. And I've come to realize after 40 years in the Lord, many of the things that he commanded us is concerning my household and your household. Because his created order is best demonstrated in a family. Husband and wife, parents and children, and if you have household servants, then that's also very important. So really today I want to, of course, share a little bit first around this theme, and then we can enter into dialogue. The Wednesday night group that I had with the Malaysian brothers is all dialogue. We just ask questions and we look into scriptures, and we want to find out the intent of Christ and his apostles and the authors of the early church apostles, how they put into practice what we understand as household texts. That means teaching on how parents and children and also husband and wife can treat one another so that we understand the plan of Christ. So today we are thinking, why did God call himself as the God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob? Why does his name card contain the name of 3 fathers, 3 generations of the same family? And God is, in these end times, removing a curse. That's what Malachi says. Removing a curse when the hearts of the father are turning to the children, and the children's hearts turning to the fathers. So many of us are very experienced fathers. It really is important that we share our experience in this. In the book of Ephesians, you may recall, Paul in chapter 3, especially in verse 2, verse 8, verse 9, he brought out something very precious that we've been learning, pondering. He said, I have been given a very special job. I've been given the administration or stewardship of God's household. And the word stewardship actually means 2 words in Greek. Oikos, nomos. Oikos, nomia means household law or household order. And he said, I'm making plan. This plan, actually it refers to the plan of Christ. I want everyone to understand, as I have been given to understand by Christ, never before, hidden from all the ages. Nobody else understood it except me. Now I'm telling you very plainly, God has a plan. His plan is the church, because verse 10 in chapter 3 said, through the church, powers and principalities in the heavens and on earth will know the manifold of wisdom. Not political system, not education system, not media, not knowledge, but the family of God, which is the church. So it's wonderful revelation, but how do you implement it? Now, we know then, Christ said, I have a plan. I revealed it to Paul. Paul revealed it to you, brothers. Act on it. Church is a family of many individual families. So through this understanding and revelation, if we operate church like the early church actually is simple churches in the household, from house to house, networked by apostolic leaders. That's all. No building, no professional, no program. House to house, town to town, city to city, nation to nation. How do you do it? You live it out. So church is the household, the family of God, and the family consisting of many individual families. And how do we set our family in order? I've been learning this, and I've been really, I tell you, as late as recent as yesterday, I'm still learning it, but I must also tell you that it's workable. For 40 years, I have never experienced something as wonderful as yesterday. My 13-year-old daughter asked me out for a date. I tell you, this is the most satisfying thing for a 13-year-old to ask a 66-year-old to come out for a meal, wanting to tell me things that she doesn't feel very relaxed to tell her parents. So I feel very honored, because for so many years I have not been able to do, and in the last few years I've been able to do. Can I show you a few pictures? First, this is my family. Can everybody see it? Can you see it?
Yes, we can see it. Yep.
So just an introduction. That was my birthday last year. My beautiful wife, my 3 daughters, and my eldest was behind me, Rebecca, who married to Matthew. And then right in front of me is my youngest daughter, Esther, who was called to go to China. Rebecca went to the Middle East. And on my far right is Anna, who went to Africa for mission for years. They all come back. The wonderful thing is, it really is a miracle. They have all come back and live on the island of Marwan, where you heard of the Noah's Ark theme park, operated now by my son-in-law, the one who married my eldest. And they all live on the same street, and they're all producing children. They have become a village, a community, and practicing somehow what I cannot even imagine many years ago. And now they're all around there. So that's one picture. And then I would like to share with you, because of the so-called the first principles of Christ that I've been learning to do with my church leaders, my FGB brothers, like in Wednesday night with Malaysian brothers. But the most satisfying is to be able to do it with my mother and my brother and his family. You see, this is a picture taken a year ago when I started after dinner on a Monday night, when my mother was there, because I'm so blessed. I'm now living with 4 households, next door to my mother, next door to my brother, who has 2 boys, and my sister and her husband. So 4 households with my beautiful wife. It's practicing the family of families. But a year ago, I started to do some Socratic discussion including what we are discussing. And 14-year-old Jasper, the one next to me, after several months, he said, "Uncle Hugo, my mind was open. I now understand what are the principles of the world and what are the principles of Christ. Thank you for making me think." So that's the result of looking at the family with a different perspective. And now on a Monday or Tuesday afternoon, every week, I tell you, there's nothing more satisfying than gathering Jasper, that 15-year-old, and my 13-year-old granddaughter, and discuss about what we are discussing even today. I think we are more or less on the same topic this week. So let me continue using our household as a mission center for training our household and sending them to accomplish the Great Commission. While we do that, I really believe that we will take part in the Great Commission even more effectively, because nothing works better than example. We may have a vision, but if we only go out and not work at the family, it's not sustainable. Family is supposed, under the plan of God, He blessed us so that we would go forth and multiply, and we will fill and subdue the earth. So the plan is multiplication. There's nothing more easier than simple family multiplication, because that's what we do. I have one wife, I have 3 daughters, and they produce 5 children. Actually, number 6 is coming along. And then we are intergenerational, and intentionally, I'm now training the 3rd generation. What joy it is. Never occurred to me, because I used to not being able even to tell people what year my daughters were at school, because I'm busy planting churches and busy evangelizing the world and going to the nations and eating durian in Malaysia and preaching the gospel. And I don't see my daughters enough. So now I'm repenting. You know, that's the early church, really. The Great Commission is accomplished in the first several hundred years by multiplication of simple household churches and eldership that arose out of household experience. If you look at the New Testament, Titus and 1 Timothy, qualification of elders are mostly character and household leadership. Today, God is restoring that to its original design. So what is the purpose of family? I really believe the main purpose is to pass my faith and my DNA and my values to the next generation. I can share a little bit about the experience and the struggles that my daughters went through, but that's how it works. So how do we leave a legacy to the next generation? I'm learning every day. The Genesis 1:8, as I mentioned, 1:28, Genesis, the family is to go forth and multiply, fill the earth, subdue the earth. That means we have to manage it, not like managing matters, but leading people, envisioning them. So to me, the greatest gift today that I can give to my family and my children is my faith and the vision, but also in the plan of God. Now I'm beginning to tell them, Christ has a plan. The plan is the church. The church is not just big gathering. It may include that. It's not big worship or big money. But you, the plan is your family. And you can also impart the same thing to your children. So that's a little bit about my personal background and testimony. And to me now, family is the greatest source of joy. I don't need to do another meeting. I don't need another title. But I need my wife to say, you are a good husband. You are my best friend. And my daughter to say, Dad, you're not perfect, but you're my hero. So that's a little bit of my struggle. A little bit about my marriage, because my marriage to Uni is a clash of two cultures. She was brought up in England since the age of 4. So in my home is the East meeting the West, even though that she says she's a banana because she's yellow, but she's white inside. But with the love of God, we have gone through 40 years. We just celebrated 40 years of our marriage, and we were sharing some of the things that we were learning in the dinner the other month. And I have no time to go into all the details, but I walk through my marriage with a lot of brokenness and humility, because I may think that I know what to do. In fact, I don't. It's a journey, but I'm learning, and I'm learning how Christ is to love the church, laying down his life. And I think the 9 verses in Ephesians 5 have spoken a lot to me in the recent 2 years, because we're studying it, discussing it with brothers every day, every week. And as part of our returning to the way of Christ and his apostles about household. So I learned one thing, brothers and sisters, my wife also learning. Every woman, or the majority of all the ladies who are married, they would tell you that they have a love tank, a tank, like a petrol tank, a tank that is love, and their value is love and value tank. Sometimes is empty. And my wife is saying that she learned that the only person that can fill up that tank in the whole universe is you. You are the husband, only you. So what is it that we can do as husband? Because if we work out our marriage good, our children are easy. If we don't work out our marriage, it's very, very challenging, because we are not an example to them. So my wife has been telling you that 3 things. If we find out ways to make her feel that she is the priority, apart from the Lord, over my work, over my ministry, over my money, over my time, then that's number 1. That would fill her tank. Number 2, ask lots of questions so that you find out what is most important to her, what interests her, what is valuable to her. Very different from me, very different from the men. Unless I ask lots of questions, she doesn't even know. So, I've been learning that. And thirdly is to ask for forgiveness when I have offended her, which I did yesterday. And today is calling me sweetheart again. So men want a quick fix, but wife wants a quick fill. Just quickly fill my tank, which is empty. Why am I learning this and saying this? Because about a year and a half, in October 2019, my wife went through a major operation. She had a tumor in her spinal cord and was removed successfully. And it was not cancerous, we thank the Lord. But for 5 months, she basically could not move with her hands. So I got to learn to look after her, and it became very intimate, extremely tiring. And now it's been a year and a half or a little bit more, and we're experiencing that pathway, that journey of recovery. But I learned one thing. I only begin to cherish something when I'm about to lose it. So almost, at the fringe of losing her life, losing my wife. But then making wife happy is a happy life. Happy wife, happy life. Marriage is the way of the cross. It's a pathway to happiness. So I do have a happy life because sometimes I make my wife happy, and it's my job. You see, as husbands, learning to love the wives, of course, we have to sometimes remind them, you need to also appreciate and also admire us. Otherwise, other ladies would admire us. So you need to appreciate the husband and also accept us, the way that we are, and we cannot change. No matter what you say, only God will change us. But learning to love the wife is very satisfying. And it's also very frightening. Many, many years ago, one of my daughters actually said this to me. She said, "Dad, the way you treat my mother is the way I would treat myself." The way you treat my mother is the way I would treat myself. It's very frightening. In other words, if I don't love my wife, she won't love herself. She would abuse herself. What a responsibility. So, yeah, marriage is full of unmet expectations, not perfect, but can be very, very joyful. And all depends on our understanding and design and the spirit of marriage. Because now more and more I understand the plan of Christ is to establish his church through the church to reveal his glory. And church is a family of many families. So every household, including yours and mine, we shall serve the Lord, accomplish the Great Commission there. And with a stable marriage in Christ, we can pass our faith to our next generation, not by talking, but by example. One of my daughters actually also wrote to me, she said, "Dad, I used to think you and Mom were crazy, but now I understand. I've become like you." So she went and studied in Egypt and became a missionary to the Middle East. So in our marriage, this is what we can do. We live as an example, but by also laying down our life. I've learned only in the last, recent maybe 2 years, how to listen to the wife, listen to our children. So give time to listen to them. And as father, as husband, our job is to do everything to bring them to greater maturity, and not preaching at them, but listening to them. And that they will grow. You would bring forth life in them. So I've learned also one thing, because man shall leave his parents and cleave with his wife. That's what Genesis says. Cleaving, the original word actually means pursue hard. We have to pursue them. That's why I date my wife, and I date my 3 daughters ever since they were children. I still date, them. My eldest is 38. She still asks for dates. And now I'm dating my grandchildren. And now I have sons too, the sons-in-law, I have to date them too, but the ladies are the priority. And be interested in what they do. And, my 13-year-old granddaughter, Elizabeth, I call her Beth, she was baptized this last Sunday, and she gave her testimony. And yesterday she asked me out for a date. A year ago, I started to pray for her and wanting to do Socratic discussions with her. But in those days, you ask one question, she answered one question. She was looking at her phone and she would hardly look at you. Yes, yes. But after pursuing her for a few months, one day she said, because I try and ask questions, listen to her. She said, "Gong Gong, you're not too bad. You don't talk down to me. You're not patronizing. I think you're okay." So today, I'm so delighted that she began to even ask me and tell me things. So our job as father and husband is to bring joy to the family. I am the CEO of my family. I'm the chief entertainment officer. I am their toy and I'm their joy. Because the joy of the Lord is faith and is trusting in the Lord, resulting in healing and also in strength. And our children will model on our faith and joy as we trust the Lord and live joyfully. Just a little bit about my 3 daughters. One of my daughters had a more difficult time. because somehow not as easy. So one day I asked her, because the way she dressed and the way she talked is not exactly the way I would liked it. But then you still have to like her, love her. And you don't know what to say, you know? Do you say it's good or not good? I don't know. I mean, he has piercing here and piercing here, everywhere. And, but then one day I said, Anna, I said, my daughter Anna, she went to Africa. She's very beautiful, very, very talented and loves the Lord. What do you want me to do for you? For the first time in my life, I came out with what Elijah asked Elisha. What do you want me to do for you? Because very often our questions, spoken or not spoken, is what is it that you can do for me? So that, you know, you can do this and do that and excel and do this so that I will look good. Instead of what is it that you want me to do for you? From there onwards, our relationship changed without talking about the details. And she went to the States, and shortly after that, she turned around. Thank the Lord, she turned around and said, Dad, I'm not the daughter that you expected. And I used to do this and do that, but now the Lord just changed my heart. And from now on, you're my best friend. I'll tell you everything. So there was a turnaround, a miracle, without telling you the details. She went away for years from the Lord, but she came back. And it's a very tearful experience. So, but Elisha also said to Elijah, when you see the way I go, you shall get what you want, because everyone wants a double portion. In fact, my daughters want a double portion from me, and I didn't understand. I didn't wait until they say things. But when we see that they are looking at our life and we have something to give to them, then that would help them. So we need to help our children to pursue their dreams, not yours, but theirs, and to pursue God passionately. And I have learned, if I pursue God passionately myself, it's not what I say. Now today, all three of them love the Lord, and they're happily married and they're having children. It really is the grace of God. Sometimes I wonder, why is all this happening to me? I have not known another person more blessed than me. Honestly, I'm a very happy guy. I have been so blessed. I do not know anyone who lives with 4 households. I do not know anyone whose 3 daughters and grandchildren live 5 minutes from you. And they all love one another. So there's a time to scatter and a time to gather. But I really hold on to the paradigm that we gather to scatter. We gather as families, but we train them and multiply them by sending them forth. So an extended family is a support system. We have natural extended family, but the church and the church community or our fellowship is an extended family, a spiritual extended family, and it's a support system. Without this support system, very difficult. My granddaughter yesterday was sharing with me how important it is to have a support system. Young people these days get depressed, they're suicidal, they don't know what to do. But unless they're surrounded by their father, their uncles, their aunties, and their peers, and they know that these people are walking with them without judging them. Yesterday, my granddaughter said, Kung Kung, you don't judge me. People judge me. So I don't know, this is something I'm learning. And I finished. I basically finished. But let me read what I may have touched on in Genesis 18, verse 18 and 19. Before God, he was walking with Abraham, with his 2 angels. Before the 2 angels went to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, because of all the sexual immorality, he said this to Abraham, because prior to that, he said, Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. But what was the condition? Condition was verse 19. God said, I know him. He told the angels, I know Abraham, and that he will command his children and his household after him. And they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he had spoken of him. Unless we disciple our children, our wives, and our household, our next generation, we will not be able to inherit the blessing and the promise of Abraham. Thank you very much.